we're going to keep letting people in, but let's go ahead and get started. So, Cormac, do you want to share what we're going to be talking about today? And then we can introduce ourselves.
Yes, well, a very big welcome to you all. See people from all corners of the world there. We're really excited to have you here. What you're going to learn today, we are going to be covering the do's and don'ts of rapport building and why it's very important. So we're not today's masterclass is not just for those working with addiction. Today's masterclass is for anyone working in hypnotherapy, NLP, or therapy of any kind, because today is about language and the intricacies and the importance of language. So there's the do's and don'ts of rapport building so that you can instantly put your clients at ease. There's well, I've called it the best kept secrets of conversational hypnosis, because there's lots of stuff here that you've not yet heard, but once you hear it, you will be able to use it straight away in your clinics. Um, and you'll be able to use them straight away in your clinics to actually really boost the effectiveness of your sessions. And we are going to talk about the very important area of priming your client's subconscious mind for change and for long-lasting transformation. So, um, I would like to introduce you to Dr. Jodie Solberg, who is a clinical hypnotherapist. She's a trainer. She's an international best-selling author. She holds a doctorate in counseling. She's got over 2 decades of experience working as a clinical hypnotherapist and a coach. Jodie actually spent probably the first 10 years of her career working in the US criminal justice system, working with people around abuse and addiction. She has specialized in helping people heal from the effects of trauma, anxiety, addiction, to help them gain clarity, to cultivate inner peace, and to create work-life harmony. Her approach as both a therapist and a trainer is deeply trauma informed. She brings in neuroscience, subconscious transformation, somatic awareness, and um, I hope you don't mind me mentioning, but Jodie was just awarded the Clinical Hypnotherapist of the Year just this weekend past at the, yes, a round of applause, at the prestigious Michigan Hypnotherapy Conference in Detroit. So congratulations, Jodie, very well deserved.
Thank you so much, Cormac. And Julie had put that in the chat as well. Thank you so much, Julie. It was a big surprise, such an honor, so wonderful to be recognized for the work that we're doing. And it was something that is such a mission and a passion for me to be able to break those generational cycles. And I am very blessed and very grateful to be able to work with Cormac in doing these things, because it does make such an impact, not just on ourselves, not just on the individual clients that we work with, but truly on families, on generations, on the world. You never know how far that effect is going to go. And so it was just, like I said, such an honor to be able to receive recognition for that. So thank you. And I also want to introduce Cormac because he is also an award-winning hypnotist, hypnotherapist, and coach. And he has spent also nearly 2 decades in this industry and helping others, empowering them to unlock their full potential and truly achieve remarkable transformations in their lives and their businesses in his clinic as well as a trainer. His background is in business and psychology, but really comes together to provide this unique perspective to create instant transformation in the lives of his clients and then transfer those skills and protocols to his trainees, and how to build our businesses. We're going to be talking about that today, as well as how to make that really significant impact in people's lives, because of course we can't make that impact if we aren't bringing those people in to be able to help them. One of the things that Cormac trains on is his signature method and process, which is the ICANN method, which is a really phenomenal method to help people break patterns and habits, right? These cycles of thoughts or feelings or behaviors. And his specialty has been in addiction. So specifically, when we met, he was doing a training on cocaine addiction cessation. And we happened to meet at a conference, and it wasn't that long ago. It was in the last 6 months where we connected, and we're both Elman trainers. So we connected through the Elmans and through the Heartland Hypnosis Conference. And we had the opportunity to see each other speak and figured out how much we truly had in common and how complementary our styles and approaches were, being solution focused and trauma informed. And so that is how we came together. He invited me at the end of May to be able to go and add on to his cocaine addiction hypnotherapy course, to add a trauma informed piece to it, add a module there, so we could see how what we do would fit together and how it was received. And we got rave reviews, and people were instantly asking us, when were we going to do more? Because we were really only able to scratch the surface in that training in just a couple of days, and with me, just a module of it. And so here we are. And so together, we decided to co-found SFTI Hypnosis Academy so that we could bring our solution focused and trauma informed approach to the world. And we actually have a couple new social channels. You all are the first that are going to be able to see this. So I'm going to drop the social channels that you can follow us on for SFTI Hypnosis, Facebook and YouTube, into the chat for everybody. So if you'll click on there, you can follow us, you can learn more about what we're doing, and we offer a ton of free content and value there. And we're looking forward to doing even more. We also have a Facebook group, so I can put that in the chat as well. That is the Addiction and Trauma Hypnosis Hub. So I will add that here in a moment. But I'm going to actually pass things over to Cormac to really kick us off in talking about really who is an addict and dispelling some myths about working with addiction.
Thanks, Jodie. And yes, we do have a ton of free content there on the social channels, so that'll be of great resource to you guys. Unfortunately, when we think about an addict, we think about lots of therapists think about someone that they don't want in their clinic, especially if you work from home, you don't want them in your house. People have misguided ideas of what an addict is. Now, there's addicts, and there's people that are addicts that are coming to a private hypnotherapist. And there is a difference between what we normally think of as an addict and the person who will be coming to you as a private hypnotherapist. And what we've noticed is that they are people that are in, they're in high-paying jobs, they're in responsible roles in their communities, they're lawyers, they're accountants, they're solicitors, they're bankers, they're in kind of high pressured areas, and there seems to be a proliferation of different types of drugs there. Cocaine is one of them, opioids and painkillers. Sometimes it's gambling. So it's really about this dopamine fix. And then they find themselves that what used to be a choice has now become a compulsion. They don't want to go to AA. They don't want to go to a dry out clinic. They don't want to go to a psychotherapist or counselor to talk about their problem for weeks and months and beyond. When we can present them with a solution that works, that's depending on their issue, that's either 3 or 5 sessions, now we've got their attention. Now this is something that they're thinking, okay, this is what will suit me. They don't have to go take time out of their jobs, or if they run a business. And lots of people I work with, they run their own businesses. They cannot take time to go to, or cannot or will not take time to go to a dry out clinic for a number of weeks or a number of months. It's not an option for them. Nor do they want to go to Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous. They don't want to go to those places because the privacy factor. They don't want other people to know that they have this issue. So when we present them with a framework, a process, a few sessions, and we say, come to me for this amount of sessions and I will help you become clean. Now it's very, very attractive for them. The reason that most hypnotherapists don't work in the area of addiction is because they've got an idea, an incorrect idea of who's going to be coming to them. What really we notice is the people that are coming to you, they have money to pay for the solution. Because in many cases the problem costs so much, they're quite happy to pay good money for the solution. Unfortunately, though, many hypnotherapists that we've spoken to, and we've spoken to lots, they tell us I don't want to work in addiction, or I was told when I did my original training not to work in addiction, or I'm afraid to work with an addiction. I'm afraid of who's going to come in, or I'm afraid of failure because there's that kind of binary. Did it work or did it not? And basically what they're saying to us is, I don't have the training, I don't have the confidence, and I don't have the framework to actually work with an addict, whatever the addiction is. They're saying they just don't know how to do it. That's really what's at the bottom of it, and they don't have the confidence. So what Jodie and I have done is put together training that is designed to actually do that, to give you not just the framework and the training to work with addicts of any kind of addiction, by the way, any kind of addiction, but also to have the confidence to do it so that you can look someone in the eye and say, I can help you. So there's we all know addiction is growing and growing and growing. I was listening to a business podcast recently that were talking about you got to get yourself into a growing market. Well, we're certainly in a growing market. We know that for sure. We also know that there's a serious lack of hypnotherapists working on it, and there's a serious need for hypnotherapists amongst addicts out there. So people want to work with you. They just don't know about you yet, and they don't know that you have the solution for them. If they know that, they'll come knocking on your door. And what we want is that you become that go-to hypnotherapist in your area, that you're in that top 0.1% of people, that you get known for the work that you're doing simply by following a framework that works, that has about nearly 40 years of experience of myself and Jodie brought together. We have frameworks, techniques, and tools that absolutely work. And our mission really is to broaden the field of hypnotherapists working in addiction, to actually encourage you by giving you that support and training and frameworks to work with addiction. Also, guys, one client can easily earn you $1,500 or 1,500 euros or pounds, depending on what part of the world you're in. One client can do that. And this isn't just that one particular, if you get really lucky, that client will. This is a regular client can earn you that kind of money. So just keep that in mind, because while we're in this to help people, we also need to make a living. Because if we're not making a living, we can't help people anymore. So many people start in hypnosis, they go for a while, they're not making a living, and then they go away from working with people. They go back to something else. They say it didn't work for them, and basically because they didn't have that confidence of the frameworks to do it. So you need to be earning. You need to, when you're in this, you need to have a business so that you can stay doing what you love doing. I want to tell you a little story about, so Jodie mentioned a new movement, SFTI hypnosis. SF is solution focused. Compare that with an addict goes to an addiction counselor, very much problem focused. They're going back into all the problems in their life that led them to where they are. We're solution focused. Where are you right now? Where would you like to be? What's the quickest way of getting you there? The TI is trauma informed, and this is the big area that Jodie's an expert in. I'm an expert in the solution focus. Jodie's an expert in the trauma informed, and we've brought these two things together to give you a very comprehensive knowledge and understanding and toolkit of how to work with addicts. So let me give you an example of why this is important. I had a client come to me maybe a half a year ago just to help her with quit smoking. And she'd smoked for about 40 years. And I helped her to quit smoking in that session, and she got on great. And months later, she rang me and said, you know what, since that session, I've been doing great. I haven't smoked, I haven't even wanted to smoke, but I started eating a whole lot more. And maybe lots of you have had that experience with your clients. They started eating a lot more. She's putting up weight. She's not happy with it, of course. So I said to her, come back in, and I worked with her. And through working with her, what we discovered was that she went back to a memory when she was 6 of falling out of a tree. And the kind of backstory, to give it very briefly about her, she had an older brother who had severe autism with severe violent tendencies. And because of these violent tendencies, her parents had to, most of their attention was spent on her older brother. And she was living in fear of him. He pushed her into an open fire once. He would hit her and hurt her a lot. This day, anyway, she fell out of a tree. Now, I've got a 6-year-old daughter. If she falls and hurts herself, I know about it. She should come looking for me or come looking for her mom. This 6-year-old, this lady I was working with, when she was 6, she fell out of the tree and she had a moment, and it was a big moment. Do I call for mom or dad to come and help me? And she realized there wasn't much point in doing that. So instead, she went to the kitchen and got food. She went to the biscuit tin or the cookie jar. That was her source. So the trauma wasn't falling out of the tree. The trauma was now having to deal with it herself. So in order to cope with that, she used food. In that year alone, she put up between 45 and 50 pounds. Now think about this, a 6-year-old child putting up that kind of weight. It's crazy. So she's had weight issues ever since. She'd go up and down and up and down. Ultimately, what happened was we got rid of one addiction, the cigarettes, and then like whack-a-mole, it popped up again in another place. And what can happen is when we help our clients with addiction, we get rid of one, it pops up in another place. So what's underneath is the trauma. And that's what we need to help to clear out so that we're really helping our client, so that we're actually giving them real transformation in their lives. It's the trauma piece. So when we're able to work on the trauma, then the need for any addictions dropped away. The need for food addiction, cigarette addiction, or any other area where it could pop up dropped away. Um, Jodie, you have a client a story you'd like to share there also, I believe.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Cormac. It's such a great example of why it's so important to do both. And, I have a client that I worked with who had past trauma from abuse growing up, an abusive father, was a professional. You worked for one of the big three tech companies here in Seattle area and had basically turned to food and external validation and scrolling, a lot of online external validation for comfort. And it really had destroyed his confidence, his self esteem, his relationships. And so he needed a solution. He'd been through all different kinds of therapy and tried everything, where he was just really talking in circles around the same thing and really reinforcing these problems that he had. And so, yes, we were addressing that root cause with the trauma, but we also needed to focus on a solution because what he really wanted was to move forward in life, to not feel stuck anymore, to be able to, yes, lose the weight and stop the emotional eating and the external need for that validation, but also to be able to be healthy and whole so he could have a relationship, so he could get married and have a family. And very happy to report that he recently just did get married and they're buying a home and starting a family. And it really was about, again, that mix between addressing that trauma aspect of it and that was that root cause, but moving him forward to where he wanted to be. And one of the things that I get a question about quite a bit is, with the word addiction and our associations and the stigma sometimes around it is, do I need a specialized degree or a license in order to do that? And the answer is no, you really don't. You can be part of a care team if someone's working with a doctor, etc. But we can be within our scope as hypnotists and hypnotherapists to create change with our clients, to team up with them to help them change those habits, those patterns of thoughts and feelings and behaviors. And so that's one of the things that we teach on a lot is how can you be trauma informed? How can you be solution focused? And how can you work with people within your scope and really have amazing results with that? I think that that's key because a lot of people will look at me and see
Okay, I think
all the accolades. Yeah. And so I think that's important to address. But Cormac, I'm going to pass it over to you.
yes, thanks, Jodie. And guys, you'll see in the comments there's a nice photo of Jodie with her award. Thanks, Jobeth, for sending it.
Thank you.
Also in the comments are our social channels if you're joining us late. Um, Social channels that you can join us on to get lots of free content. So now let's jump into the body of it. Rapport. So we all understand that rapport is the foundation. Before we can help create any kind of shift, any kind of change in someone, we need to have rapport. Would anybody like to have a simple technique that you can do in the space of 1 minute in your office before a client comes in that practically guarantees rapport? Figgy, yes. Everyone like to have a nice technique? So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Just sit comfortably in your chair. Anyone that's driving, just listen to this, don't take part. Sit comfortably in your chair, feet flat on the ground, close your eyes. I want you to picture someone whom you wish a lot of goodwill towards. It could be a friend, it could be a partner, it can be a family member. Picture that person sitting across from you. Now, just take a moment as you picture them sitting across from you to notice the sensations and feelings in your body. Notice that sense of goodwill towards this person. Imagine a golden string, maybe a thick golden string, connecting you from your core to that person sitting across from you. And through that golden string, you're sending lots of goodwill. You're feeling connected to that person. Imagine feeling that strong connection. Notice where you feel it in your body. Notice what you feel in your body. Notice temperatures, sensations, thoughts of goodwill toward that person. Notice movement in your body. Feel that sense of goodwill. Now imagine that that person is beginning to be transformed into your new client. Now you may not have ever met your new client, but you possibly have a name for them. You possibly know their gender. Imagine now that it's that new client that you're about to see, or an existing client, and that you're still sending that sense of connection to the person, goodwill, curiosity, desire to help. Just feel that sensation in your body. Notice where you feel it. Notice how you feel it. Breathe it in. Get a good sense of it. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes again. And that is a very simple 1 minute technique. You can do that over 2 or 3 minutes if you like. A simple technique to put yourself in the frame of mind so that when a client comes into you, you're in the frame of mind for rapport. We all know about different types of techniques, and I'm going to go into those techniques now. But really, rapport, the foundation of it is a feeling inside of us. From there, what can we do? So we can build rapport by matching and mirroring, and then we're looking to lead. So what can we match and mirror? You can mirror their energy, the energy that they show up in. Now, sometimes someone may show up in a very low energy, depressed, coming to us. That might happen. And I would still suggest you meet them where they are. Match them, meet them where they are, and then you're leading to a different space. So if someone is working on a nightclub door, a bouncer, they are trained that if a person comes with aggression, not to say in a quiet voice, calm down, calm down. They're actually trained to meet them at that level, meet them right up at that aggression, then quickly bring them down. So you have to meet them where they are, then lead them. So we can mirror their energy. We can mirror their breathing. We can mirror body language. A good idea is actually to stand in front of a mirror and see. One hand goes that way or that way. So people can turn like this. People can do this. People can cross their legs over in different ways. Now, it's very important that we're not mimicking, but if you've done that exercise beforehand, it feels more natural. It's not a mimicking thing then. And we can slow it down. We don't have to do it straight away. So people like people that are like us. And that goes right down to actually mirroring. It was Milton Erickson when he was he was sick and ill for a long time, most of his life, and it meant that he was sitting in a wheelchair, watching and observing others while other people were living and doing things, and he noticed that when people were in rapport, they were matching and mirroring each other, their body language, their gestures. Also, what else can we match and mirror? Cadence, the speed with which we talk, the tonality, um, the language. Jodie's going to talk about it in a few moments about out of NLP, visual and aesthetic, auditory or kinesthetic. Another thing that builds rapport is listening. And I want to tell you about the 3 levels of listening. And you'll recognize each of these. So level 1 listening. This is where someone else is talking, but you're just thinking what you're going to say, how it relates to you. And when someone is responding to us in that way, it kind of irks us a little bit. It's not the nicest thing. Level two listening can be just repeating back some words that the person has just said. There's a guy called Michael Voss. He's written a book called Never Split the Difference. He was the chief hostage negotiator for the FBI for many decades. What he said, one of the things that stood out to me about his book is that sometimes, in order to get someone to speak more, all we may have to do is repeat back one or two words of the previous sentence they've said. So in this case, you might say to me, one or two words. And I'd go, yeah, because if you say one or two words, that gives someone license to speak further about what they're talking about. You might say what they're talking about. Yeah, exactly. Do you get where I'm going? So we pick one or two words of what they said. We just repeat that. So that's kind of a level two listening, using the words back to them, but with this extra little skill of creating a space for that person to go further. So we don't necessarily have to ask a probing question. We can just repeat back one or two of those words that that person has said, and that opens up the space for them to speak further. That's level two. Level three listening also might be known as universal listening. Level three is when someone is saying something and we hear beyond the words. We might see their body language and we might say, it seems like there's a lot of emotion tied up in that. It seems like this is very important to you. If I'm telling you something about a trip that I took to Portugal recently, I'm telling you a few things and I'm saying, the sun was lovely and the food was amazing. You might say, it seems to me like you enjoy food when you travel abroad, Cormac. I go, yeah. Rather than you saying to me, oh, I was in Portugal as well, and tell me about your trip to Portugal. So they're the differences, and these are the things that can create or break rapport. Jodie, you're going to talk a little bit there about speaking their language and the don'ts of rapport building.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Cormac. Yeah, when we're using their language, we can really look at, are they a visual learner and speaker? Are they more auditory or are they kinesthetic? So, for example, if they're more visual, they might say, oh, I see that. And so you can listen to those types of words like, I can see that. Okay. If they're more auditory, they might say, oh, that sounds good to me. And if they're more kinesthetic, they may use language like that feels right to me. So you can pick up on those types of cues and speak in that language because that is what's going to resonate with them the most. You can also use their language with the different words that they use. So, for example, if they are talking about feel the weight of the world on their shoulders, that their problems just feel so heavy. We don't want to mix their metaphors up and say, oh, so it feels like there's a dark cloud over your head. We want to continue to use the heaviness and the weight on their shoulders because that's how they're describing it. So I want to mirror back that experience. Now, something that is another don't with rapport building is to tell people how to feel. So let's say someone's coming in to see you and they're saying, I'm really nervous. I've never done this before. I've never experienced hypnosis. It's important not to say, oh, there's no need to be nervous. There's nothing to be nervous about. We want to actually validate their feelings instead and tell them that it's perfectly fine, that it's okay to be nervous, that lots of people are nervous when they come to see you for the first time or to start out with something new. But by the time they're leaving, they're all feeling wonderful and they're feeling nice and calm and confident and comfortable. And so making sure that you're not judging, as to how that's going to be received by them, how they're feeling, that you're really validating that experience and then helping to shift that. The other thing that is key to avoid is sympathizing with our clients. So empathy is a wonderful thing. So being able to understand where they're coming from their perspective, but they don't need our sympathy for us to come across as we feel bad for them. Don't be tempted to say, oh, you poor thing, and really give them that sympathy. Again, we want to validate the experience, but we also want to move them forward and not, buy into and participate in staying there. and kind of wallowing in that. And honestly, that can come across as pity. So we want to be really careful about the sympathy versus empathy. Empathy can be a really beautiful, wonderful thing, and we can stay really neutral and forward focused with that. The last thing I want to talk about with what Cormac was just saying as well with the mirroring is that we match and we mirror so we can lead. He mentioned that when he was talking about the bouncer in a more high energy type of situation where they want to match and then quickly bring it down. And so I call that being a thermostat versus a thermometer. So when you're working with a client, a lot of times they're the thermometer. They're reacting to whatever was going on around them. And maybe they're in a spiral, they're in a spin. And so what we can do is we can set the pace and set the tone. But what happens is, think about a thermostat, you set it at a comfortable temperature, but as the temperature starts to rise, for example, then it registers that, it says, okay, this is where we're at right now. Then it kicks on the air to bring it back down. Or when it gets too cold, it registers that. And then from that point, brings it up. And so we get to help people regulate. We get to model that. And so can come at that energy point, but we don't want to continue to match the energy. We don't get sucked in to the anxiety. When our clients coming in with anxiety, we don't want to have it make us anxious as well. We want to meet them where they're at and then model that regulation so that they can follow us. So that is a little bit about some of those do's and don'ts. And now Cormac's going to share more of those best kept secrets of conversational hypnosis that is really going to help take your pre-talk to the next level.
Thanks very much, Jodie. And by the way, guys, that thermometer versus thermostat is fantastic. I'm sure everyone loves hearing it. I think it's brilliant. And when your clients get it as well, but in order for us to learn something new, metaphor helps us to learn something new. So we don't have to go into explaining so much things. We can say, well, a thermometer, thermostat. It helps our clients to learn these things also. Now, my foundation in hypnosis has been in conversational hypnosis. So now all of the tools and frameworks and techniques that I use, interspersed in all of it is some really powerful conversational hypnosis. So I'm not just kind of saying that, giving them the message, and giving them the message with conversational techniques. And the first one I want to talk to you about is embedded commands. Now, when I help someone make a change, in order to lock in that change, I want them to have a sense of acceptance about it. And the sense of acceptance is not necessarily just, I don't smoke anymore, I don't take this drug anymore. The acceptance is, who is the person that I want to be? So we create a sense of identity. So we move beyond just the behavior to, who do I want to be? And so if I want to lock in acceptance of who it is you want to be, I might say to that person, generally I give them some kind of reason, something clicks inside of you, maybe that's a sense of acceptance. Now I want to lock it in. So I don't know where you can feel that acceptance in your body now. So the feel that acceptance in your body now is the command. It's a downward inflection. So it's a command. The way it's embedded is because it's hidden in the sentence. I don't know where in your body you can feel that acceptance, sense of acceptance now. I don't even know how you might recognize acceptance in your body now. You hear the commands? So their subconscious mind picks up the command. The conscious thought doesn't know that that's happening. So I'm giving them two commands there. I don't know where you can feel that acceptance in your body right now. I don't even know how you might recognize that acceptance building in your body right now. All I know is that it happens. There is, and I'm going to rush through them, but you will be getting the replays. I'll see lots of people taking notes as well. There's how we use powerful embedded commands to actually create a feeling inside of someone that they didn't know they had. Because when I say I don't know where, or I don't know how, what does that do to their mind? It sends them searching. And while they're searching, I'm throwing in that embedded command, feel acceptance now, feel acceptance now. The next one, ambiguities. Here's a lovely one. You can use this in many parts of your session. It's about trust your unconscious now. So your unconscious can be your unconscious, that part of your mind, but also trust that you are unconscious. So Y-O-U-R or Y-O-U apostrophe R-E. So when we give, you can sit back, relax while that change is happening, and you can trust your unconscious now. The subconscious mind takes both of the ambiguities. So what they're doing is that they're trusting that thing that belongs to them, that's their unconscious mind, and they're also trusting that they're in that space of unconsciousness. It's beautiful. Start using it. It'll elevate your sessions. And when you learn to weave all of these things into nearly every sentence that you use, it elevates the effectiveness of your sessions and the results that your clients get. Another one is around switching referential index. So this allows us to deliver a message beyond the critical factor because we start off talking about someone else. So we can talk about we can there's that my friend John, or we can talk about I had a client once, and that um, she felt that she wasn't necessarily that it was difficult for her to relax and was going to be hard for her to go into hypnosis. And when I spoke to her about how her breathing can begin to slow down, that's an embedded command, slow down, she began to notice that her thoughts quieten down. And then the switches, and you know what it's like when your thoughts quieten down and your body begins to feel more and more relaxed. And you can just begin to let go and drift into a quieter place inside. Do you see what I did there? I started with the speaking about somebody else. That gives that pulls down their defensive guards. We're talking about someone, and then there's a very simple switch from I'm talking about her, and you know what that feels like, don't you? So we switch the person that we're referring to. Tag questions. Okay, this elicits a response from your client, which as we know is important for hypnosis. Like what we need is responses from them, whether that's conscious or unconscious. We need them in their mind to be going, yep, yep, yep. We need to put them into that yes room. So we need them responding either consciously or unconsciously. That's why we do things like an eye lock, a hand lock, magnetic fingers, magnetic hands, because we want to know that they are responding to our suggestions before we go further into the actual therapy that we're doing. So it tends to gain agreement and confirmation in the client's mind, doesn't it? So the tag question, I see Stefan, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I see you smiling there. The tag question is the isn't it, doesn't it, isn't that right? At the end of something. So we say, and it can feel lovely when you just let go, doesn't it? So that doesn't it. They're very powerful. They're so simple to add onto your sessions or add onto your sentence. It's a very, very simple, doesn't it? Isn't it? Finally, I want to talk to you about double binds. So double bind is where we give the illusion of choice. So if someone is a little bit nervous about going into hypnotic trance when you're doing the induction with them, you can remind them and say to them, listen, I only want you to go into hypnosis only in whatever way is most comfortable for you to do this. Isn't that a nice thing for those kind of clients to hear? It doesn't matter what I say, I only want you to go in hypnosis only in whatever way is most comfortable. So we're giving them an illusion of choice. They now feel that they have that choice. We might also say, would you like to go into a deep trance now? That can be an embedded command and a double bind altogether. Would you like to go into a deep trance right now? Or would you prefer to go into the right level of trance in your own time? We might not ask it as a question. We might say, you might like to go into trance now, or you might prefer to go into that right level of trance in your own time. It's a double bind, it's an illusion of choice. So there's about 5 really powerful um, conversational hypnosis techniques that you can bring to your sessions to really bolster them. We're back over onto Jodie for how to prime. Yeah, this is big, right? How to prime your subconscious mind for instant and long-lasting change. So what we want to be doing is priming their mind. Jodie is going to talk to you about pre-framing, really powerful.
Yeah, so pre-framing is all about telling them what meaning to put onto the experience before they have the experience and create a different meaning than what we're intending. So, for example, in your deepeners, if you're using a staircase deepener, let's say, and we tell them at the start, I'm going to count from 10. all the way down to zero. And when I get to zero, you're going to be so deeply relaxed that every single suggestion that I give you becomes accepted by your subconscious and deeply embedded in your behaviors. So when we're creating that expectation of this is how you're going to feel as you move down that staircase, you're going to go deeper and deeper, become more and more relaxed. And all these suggestions are going to be so deeply accepted by your subconscious that it's going to create this change. Then we're setting up and pre-framing that meaning, that expectation of each step, then they're going to feel even better. They're going to be more open to those suggestions. They're going to go more deeply into hypnosis. And then Cormac has an amazing technique with this on change and really setting up that expectation for change. So Cormac, I'd love for you to share that one.
So again, we're talking about priming their subconscious mind for change. So we can tell them you've already made loads of changes through your life. Change is a constant. The only thing that's constant in life is change. So you can say to them, you've already let go of many fears and phobias. You've already let go of lots of habits. There were things you used to do as a 5-year-old child or a 10-year-old child that you got up every morning just wanting to do that thing. You were really obsessed with it, really wanted to do it. Then you changed naturally without even knowing how you did it. You've let go of fears. You had a fear of a boogeyman under your bed. You certainly had a fear of being alone at some point in your life. So you have let go of these fears naturally. The skill that is required for this session to release a fear, to release a habit, the skill that's required, the unconscious skill that's required, it's already there. So when we tell them that, we're priming them and we're saying change happens. Just what's happening here is you get to direct that change. So you didn't even know how you let go of those habits. You didn't even know how you let go of those fears, but you were able to do them. So your unconscious mind can do this. You've practiced the skill of releasing unwanted emotions, unwanted fears, unwanted behaviors. You've been doing it all your life. When we give them that in trance, in your session, maybe after you do your induction, you tell them you've already made loads of changes. Change is natural for you. That's opening up that space in their mind and it's going, oh yeah, okay, I am able for this change. So it's opening up and it's a brilliant primer. Um, so another one is, well, it's a post-hypnotic suggestion, isn't it? That change has already been accepted. So this change has already been accepted by your unconscious mind. It's already been embedded deep in your unconscious mind. So that's priming them for after they leave your session, that um, that the changes they're looking for is already created. We let them know that their subconscious mind has accepted those changes and that so they're hearing that it's very powerful. I know when we're in hypnosis for a long time we can forget the power of it, but someone that does not know about hypnosis and comes to you for as a client, when you've created rapport, when they see your authority, when they see your confidence in what you do, when you tell them this change is already locked in, it's embedded in your subconscious mind, they believe you. And it is locked in. So it's another brilliant primer. So, okay, next part. So we've been trying to cram all that stuff in. We do want to tell you now um, a little bit about, so how can you learn more of this? If you've liked this and you want to find out more about it, how can you learn more of it? So we do have um, a 4-day training that will teach you all of this stuff. And I'd like to just take an opportunity now to tell you a little bit about it. Um, it's called Breaking the Cycles of Addiction. So while it's focused mostly on addiction and will give you all of those tools that you need to feel confident working with addiction, the tools and techniques that we're teaching are relevant for every type of scenario a client can come to you for. And I will actually show you how to apply them to any client. People say, well, can I apply for this? Can I apply for this? Can I apply for this? We show you how to apply for any type of client that will come to you. This is the toolbox that I use, and I rarely veer outside of it.